If hard work guaranteed success, why are millions of Americans working harder than ever and still falling behind? What if the American dream was never broken? What if it was designed this way? Every generation is told the same promise: work hard, play by the rules, and you will make it. But today, the rules haven't just changed, they've been rewritten. Skyscrapers rise higher than ever, yet more people sleep in their shadows. Paychecks shrink, prices rise, and somehow the dream keeps slipping further away. Maybe you did everything right. You studied, you worked overtime, you followed the advice your parents gave you, and yet you're still struggling to stay afloat. If that sounds familiar, this video is for you, because this story isn't about failure. It's about the truth we were never taught. The uncomfortable reality is this: hard work was never the main requirement for the American dream. Timing mattered more, location mattered more, and who you were mattered more than anyone wants to admit. Opportunity was real, but it was never equal. From the very beginning, America promised freedom and opportunity, while quietly deciding who deserved access to it. While some families were building generational wealth, others were building that wealth for them through slavery, exploitation, and invisible labor that history often ignores. And here's the part most textbooks leave out. The American dream only worked when the country needed workers, not winners. It rewarded obedience, not independence. But once workers became replaceable, the dream began to fade. Today, Americans carry more debt than any generation before them. Student loans, medical bills, rent, and credit cards aren't signs of laziness. They are symptoms of a system that profits from dependence. Freedom was replaced with monthly payments, and stability was replaced with survival. So the real question isn't why people are failing. The real question is who is still winning, and why. To understand that, we have to go back to the very beginning, before the dream became a promise and before it became a problem. The American dream was never written into the Constitution, yet it became one of the most powerful beliefs in American history. The idea was simple: no matter where you came from, if you worked hard enough, you could build a better life. This promise attracted millions: immigrants, farmers, laborers, all chasing the same hope. In 1931, historian James Truslow Adams finally gave this belief a name. He described the American dream as a land where life should be better, richer, and fuller for everyone, with opportunity for each according to ability or achievement. It sounded fair. It sounded honest. And most importantly, it sounded possible. But even in its earliest form, the dream was carefully worded. It promised opportunity, not equality. And that difference would shape everything that followed. Because while America spoke about freedom, access to that freedom depended heavily on race, gender, wealth, and timing. The dream was real, but it was selective. From the very beginning, the American economy was built on contradiction. Freedom for some existed because freedom was denied to others. Enslaved Africans generated enormous wealth, yet were excluded from every promise the dream offered. Native Americans were pushed off their land so opportunity could be created for settlers. Women worked, raised families, and built communities, but were denied property rights and financial independence. Immigrants arrived with hope, only to find exploitation. They worked in factories, railroads, and mines under brutal conditions. They were told to work harder, to be patient, to wait their turn. But for many, that turn never came. While a small group accumulated land, power, and generational wealth, millions were locked into survival mode. They were necessary, but never meant to benefit fully from the system they supported. This wasn't accidental. It was structural. As America industrialized, the dream was repackaged. Factories promised steady work. Cities promised opportunity. But behind the smoke and steel were 12 to 16-hour workdays, child labor, unsafe conditions, and poverty wages. Workers were told that sacrifice today would lead to success tomorrow. In reality, company towns trapped families in endless debt. Wages were paid just high enough to survive, but never enough to escape. When workers protested, they were labeled dangerous. Strikes were crushed. Unions were attacked. And the message became clear. The dream was not about upward mobility. It was about productivity. Hard work didn't guarantee success. It guaranteed output. After World War II, the American dream seemed to finally come true. Wages rose. Homes became affordable. The middle class expanded. This era became the image most Americans still associate with the dream. But this prosperity came with an asterisk. Programs like the GI Bill helped millions, but excluded many black Americans through discrimination and redlining. Suburbs flourished while cities were neglected. Wealth accumulated rapidly for some families, while others were intentionally locked out. The dream worked, but only for those allowed inside. This era wasn't proof that the dream was universal. It was proof that policy decides who benefits. As manufacturing declined and globalization increased, the dream quietly changed. Ownership was replaced with debt. Education became expensive. Healthcare became unaffordable. Housing prices skyrocketed. Americans were encouraged to borrow, not because they were irresponsible, but because borrowing became necessary to survive. Student loans replaced opportunity. Credit cards replaced savings. Medical debt replaced security. The dream no longer promised freedom. It promised the illusion of stability, as long as payments were made on time. For the first time, an entire generation was told they could do everything right and still lose. When the dream fails, people blame themselves. Hustle culture tells them they didn't try hard enough. Social media shows success without context. Burnout becomes normalized. Americans work longer hours than ever before. Many hold multiple jobs, and still they feel behind. The system doesn't just take money, it takes dignity. It convinces people that struggle is personal failure, not systemic design. And that may be the darkest truth of all. So is the American dream dead? Not exactly. But it has changed, and pretending otherwise does more harm than good. Opportunity still exists, but it is uneven, fragile, and increasingly tied to privilege. Hard work still matters, but it is no longer enough on its own. The dream was never a guarantee. It was a story, one powerful enough to shape a nation. The question now isn't whether the American dream was real. The question is whether America is willing to redefine it honestly, because a dream that only worked for some was never really a dream at all.